Hello, dear friends. Hello. It was a long time since I was doing live in this channel, so here I am. I'm very good and I feel inspired to share how 7-step alchemical process applies in art, in making, producing art. Specifically, in my case, it is music that you can also find on this channel. There are also playlists of that. And I'm also specializing in inner alchemy, that is inner transformation, and I also assisting others in that process, which can be very, very deep and profound. But yeah, it also applies to seemingly external things, because also alchemy leads into that realization that outer is inner, inner is outer, and it is one thing. So when we refine something seemingly outside, we simultaneously refining ourselves, our energy, our inner state. And when we are specifically refining our inner state, then we find more reflections that represent that in our seemingly, again, outer world. But it is really one beingness interacting with itself in many different ways. So, with that being said, I will go through those 7 steps of alchemical process, specifically in art. Yeah, it can also be applied in work, in areas of health, in relationships very powerfully. So maybe I will share that later. But now, how art comes into being through this prism of 7 steps of alchemical process. So first step is called calcination, and it is associated with fire. It is burning the dross, and in this specifically case, when making art, it begins as the spark of inspiration, when we feel inspired to create something. So, for example, yeah, I get that spark, and now I need to maintain that spark until it burns more expansively and produces the result. So, but in this step, we usually meet with various blockages, various obstacles. So, yeah, it might be some external things that we need to take care of, or it might be inner blockages, for example, lack of self feeling of self-worth, or trusting that you can create something good. There can come inner critic and so on. So it is a step of pure willpower when you need to empower, inflame yourself to take action in that creative direction. Just start doing that. So, yeah, so then I start doing that. I come here near to my microphone, and I usually, when I create those soundscapes that I upload here, I usually start with recording my vocal messages in my native Lithuanian language, and then on top of that I creating those soundtracks, those ambient meditative sound journeys. So it is something behind the scenes, because here I upload only the sound journey, but for Lithuanian public I also do version where it is combined with my vocal messages. So yeah, so I start doing that. Sometimes I meet a challenge in properly recording those messages or guided meditations. So sometimes I need to re-record it. And then I starting to put it together on my program, on my Ableton, organizing those messages, the gaps, and then I have a lot of recorded sounds from nature, from various instruments. And here comes the second step, which is dissolution. And it is related to water. So it is more subconscious, unconscious process. When the first step is fully conscious will. So on the second step, it is more of letting yourself go into the flow state, just releasing your creativity from your unconsciousness, unleashing your imagination and intuition. And yes, and then I start to put all of those sounds, just throwing them, just seeing how they sound together, and so on, starting to create that composition. And then I come to the third stage, which is separation, where I need to separate those sounds, discard those sounds that do not integrate in my composition. So I just feel into in the second step. I using my intuition to feel which sounds are compatible together and make a good composition and which sounds are not. So there is a process of separation, separating the essences. Yeah. And just putting together those essences that resonates. And that is actually the fourth step, which is conjunction. So then I put everything together into the whole piece of art. Yeah, but that is also just a beginning of a deeper process, because then comes the fermentation, which is, and yes, by the way, the third step, separation, is associated with element of air, and it is related to the powers of mind, discrimination, discernment. Yeah, that's function of separation. And conjunction is associated with earth, and earth combines everything together like a glue, puts everything together. But then is fermentation. It is a deeper transformation where elements starts to work in a more spiritual domain. And this is the place where I usually come to play with various synthesizers on top of those soundscapes and messages. Sometimes it goes other way around, that I first start to play and then on top combining my, for example, guided meditation and so on. But yeah, in this way, I I put a sample of what I created, and together with that, I start to play with synthesizers. And there is also a whole variety of them, and I again need to sift through and just find those that work, and that also happens very spontaneously, very intuitively, usually just with that intention. Everything organizes magically. That's why it is so important just to do it, even if you don't know how everything will work out. But yeah, on that step, it is important to open up for the higher inspiration, higher influences, inviting forces again from outside and from above. So when I know what kind of energy I want to channel, I connecting to maybe to some kind of spiritual energies or cosmic energies that specifically I want to channel into that creation. So I coming into the very aligned state, and then I start to play. Yeah, and then everything happens very, very magically. And many things falls into place without planning. And here is that beauty where spontaneity meets foresight. So it is the balance between order and chaos which makes beauty. So I make that, again, putting everything together, and then we come to the sixth operation, which is called distillation. And it is a cyclical refinement of your creation. So in this case, with music, it is called mastering your track. And it is the most challenging part for me, and I believe for many others, because here you need to re-listen your track again and listening to various specific sounds, finding distortions, removing them, aligning volumes. Yeah, it is very, very important because that makes everything, yeah, if the volumes is not correctly aligned, it might sound very bad. But if those same tracks volumes comes into proper relationship, then it sounds beautiful. Yeah, so and sometimes I need to study how to fix various challenges that comes in this process. So it is a very, very cyclical refinement process that requires lots of patience and devotion, but it is worth it, because then comes the seventh step, the final step, which is coagulation. So it means and it is complete. The track is complete and it is made eternal, because when I share it, it comes into various storages, into various platforms on the web. And yes, and then that creation is always available throughout time and can inspire many others, just as I got inspired by many artists that are now gone, but their music still plays and I still listen to that and get inspired and then create my own. Yeah, so that's the coagulation in this case. Yeah, and I like to enjoy my own music again throughout time, because throughout time I change myself. I doing also my inner alchemy, so my senses becomes more and more refined, and then I can receive more and more of that multidimensional beauty that I created. So yeah, you can see that on the last 3 steps, the process is repeating itself as in the first 4 steps, but in the last 3 steps, it is more refined, it is more complete, more spiritualized, because yes, it is really embodying the spirit, capturing the spirit, and yes, and making it in available, physical, perceivable format. And yeah, especially music is very, very subtle form, which is like a link between physical and non-physical. Yes, so I covered that, and I feel that it is enough for now. Yes, maybe I will later share how that same alchemy applies on other things. And of course, if you like it, if you resonates with you, you can subscribe, like, press the bell button to get news. Welcome to listen to my music and various links I will post on informational tab. So thank you for your support, and yeah, I'm also available for private sessions, again in assistance for your inner transformation, because that is really my focal point of my life, and I gone through that myself, and I'm still going through that, refining that. It is again cyclical process, but I'm also for many years helping others with that, and I have experience in that guidance and intuitive, compassionate guidance. So if it resonates, if my energy resonates to you, welcome to reach me out. Yeah, again, my contacts on this information tab. And again, thank you very much for tuning in, and see you soon.